The early church believed Jesus could come back at any moment. They coined an Aramaic phrase, Maranatha, meaning, "O Lord, come," or "Come now, Jesus." In one of the church's earliest Christian writings, the Didache, there are several references to the any moment return of Christ. The Bible teaches us to be ready because we don't know when the Lord is going to return. Today on Hot Topics, 7 passages that teach us Jesus could come back at any moment. The imminent return of Christ has been attacked as of late because those who believe that Jesus isn't coming back until the end of the tribulation period or the middle of the tribulation period or before the wrath sometime in the second half of the tribulation period don't believe in the any moment return of Christ. Because Jesus can't return until the end of the tribulation period or the middle of the tribulation period or 2/3 of the way through. So they don't believe that it's possible that Jesus could come back at any moment. And it's under attack. And they build a straw man to be able to tear it down. And when you're listening to something and they represent what you believe and it's not what you believe and then they tear it down, you know that they are building a straw man. They use the day of the Lord to build it. The day of the Lord, speaking of the tribulation period, or the day of the Lord, speaking of the actual day he's going to return, or the great and terrible day of the Lord, or the great and awesome day of the Lord. And they put those all together in a very specific time, and they'll say something like Elijah's going to come back before the day of the Lord, and therefore Jesus could not come back at any moment because there's several things that have to happen. But the reality is there's nothing that has to happen. And often those passages talk about the great and terrible day of the Lord, which could be talking about the great tribulation. There's nothing that has to happen before the day of the Lord could begin. So I want to look at 7 passages that teach us that Jesus could come back at any moment. Number 1, 1 Thessalonians 5, 1-4. It says, "But concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourself know perfectly that the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that day should not overtake you as a thief." Now, several things here. First of all, it says, "For we know perfectly well that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night." That means we don't know when it's going to happen. If the rapture of the church were to happen in the middle of the tribulation period, or 2/3 of the way through before the wrath begins, as some people teach, or at the end of the tribulation period, then you would know when he's going to return. You would be expecting him. It would be at a time that you expect him. But the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night. You don't know when it's going to happen. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, it says. So sudden destruction comes upon them when they say peace and safety. That cannot be said at any point during the tribulation period. From the beginning of it, when the first seal is opened, the Antichrist rides forward, and then famine, and then war, and then death follows through, and there are horrible things that are happening all the way through it. It's not a time of peace and safety. It can only be before the tribulation period when there is peace and safety. Then it says, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains. But then it says, and you are not in darkness, so that day should not overtake you. That doesn't mean that you're in the middle of the tribulation period knowing when it's going to happen. It means that you're ready all the time, to stay ready, because you know it could happen. So you keep your eyes on the sky and you look for Jesus. We're never told in the Bible to look for the Antichrist. In fact, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 tells us that before the tribulation can happen, there's got to be a great falling away, which could very well be the rapture of the church. But then it says, and the man of sin is revealed. But the man of sin just has to be revealed during the tribulation period, not before it. The only thing that has to happen before in 2 Thessalonians is the great falling away. The man of sin is revealed at the very beginning of the tribulation period. So when people say, well, we're in the tribulation period now, you know we're not, because where's the Antichrist? He's going to be revealed. Now, the second passage that teaches us that Jesus could come back at any moment is 1 Thessalonians 1, 9 and 10. For they themselves declare concerning what manner of entry we had to you, and how you turned to God from idols to serve the living and true God, and to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, even Jesus, who delivers us from the wrath to come. Now, the day of the Lord is called the day of God's wrath and the day of his indignation. And the Thessalonians were saved to wait for the Son of Man from heaven. So they're waiting not for the beginning of the tribulation period, but for the Son of Man, who will deliver them from the wrath that is to come. Revelation 3:10 says, to the faithful church, because they had persevered, they would be kept from the hour of testing that was going to come upon the whole earth to test those who dwell on the earth. The third passage that teaches us that Jesus could come back at any moment is James 5:7-9. Therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain? But you be patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. Establish your hearts, be ready, because the judge is at the door, and we want to be ready when he returns. Now, the fourth passage that tells us that Jesus could come back at any moment is Luke 12:35-40, where it says, let your waist be girded and your lamps burning, and you yourselves be like men who wait for their master, when he will return from the wedding. And when he comes and knocks, they may open to him immediately. Blessed are those servants who the master, when he comes, will find him watching. Assuredly, I say to you that he will gird himself and have them sit down and eat, and will come and serve them. And if he should come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would have come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Now, often they try to argue that if it's in the middle of the tribulation period, you don't know the day or the hour, so you don't know when to expect him, or you don't know when it's going to happen, if it's pre-wrath or if it's the end of the tribulation period. But you are expecting him, and that's the problem. If you're in the middle of the tribulation period and it's pre-wrath or it's mid-trib or it's post-trib, you're going to be expecting the Lord. It says that the Son of Man is coming at an hour you don't expect. So you have to be ready. He doesn't say, get yourself ready when you see the Antichrist or when you enter the tribulation period. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect. The fifth passage that tells us Jesus could come back at any moment is Luke 17:26-30. It says, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will also be in the days of the Son of Man. They ate, they drank, they married wives, and they were given in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, as also in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. And so it compares it to the days of Noah. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying. They were going on with life as normal until Noah went into the ark, and then the flood came and destroyed them. The flood didn't come until Noah was in the ark. If the rapture is going to happen sometime in the middle of the tribulation period, they will not be eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. Life will not be going on as normal during those times. A third of the earth is destroyed. There are hailstones and creatures that attack. There are all kinds of things happening during the first part of the tribulation period that are devastating. Now, same thing with Lot. They had to take Lot out of Sodom before it could be destroyed. Just like those who are his bride have to be taken out of this world before God can begin the day of the Lord. And again, they built, they planted, they sold, they bought, and then when Lot left, Sodom was destroyed. Even so, it says, will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. He is revealed to us when he returns for his church. And so we stay ready for him now. Life is going on as normal until Jesus returns and we go to heaven, and then sudden destruction will come upon them. Now, the sixth passage that teaches us that Jesus could come back in any moment is Matthew 25:1-13. It says, then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 of them were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight the cry was heard, behold, the bridegroom is coming, go out and meet him. Then all of the virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answer, saying, No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him at the wedding. And the door was shut. Afterwards, the other virgins also came, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Assuredly, I say to you, I do not know you. And then he says this, Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. So this parable is of the virgins being ready, waiting for him, some not being prepared and not being able to go in. And that's the oil is probably the Holy Spirit. And the watch therefore at the end is an encouragement to you and me that we are supposed to watch for him to return, for we don't know the day or the hour. Now that's an idiom. It isn't saying that we don't know the day or the hour, but we could know the week or the month. It's saying we don't know when the Son of Man is coming back. Jesus said, not even the angels nor the Son, when he was here on earth, knew when he was going to return. So it's not saying that we know the day, we don't know the day or the hour, but we could know the week. And this is what people argue often, but it's not what it means. And we know that because it says, be ready and watch therefore. So we want to be those who watch. The seventh passage that tells us that Jesus is coming back at any moment, and then I'm going to give you a bonus passage, is Titus 2:11 through 13. For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men, teaching us that, denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present age, looking for the blessed hope and the glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. We're not looking for the blessed hope of the Antichrist or the difficulties of the tribulation period, but the blessed hope that comforts us that we are going to meet the Lord in the air and we will forever be with the Lord. Now, I want to give you a bonus passage before I talk about three things in closing. This is Luke 21:34 through 36. It says, But take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with drunkenness, carousing in the cares of this life, and the day come upon you unexpectedly. For it will come as a snare on all of those who dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all of these things. He's talking about the tribulation period that will come to pass, and stand before the Son of Man. The day is coming unexpectedly. We don't know when it is, so we need to be ready. Now, three things in closing. Number one, is there anything you need to take care of so you are ready? Are you right with God? Do you have any unconfessed, unrepented sin? Do you have a right standing with him today, so that if he were to return, it would be like, well done, good and faithful servant, and you would go to be with the Lord? Are you watching? We have a lot of signs that we are living in the last days, and the Bible tells us to watch. We are to wait and watch for his return, looking for the blessed hope. Finally, don't let the day come upon you unexpectedly. Don't get caught up in the things of this world that suddenly Jesus returns and you've been living some other way. You're involved in some kind of worldly activity that you shouldn't be involved in, or some sin that when he returns, it is unexpected and you are caught off guard by it. Be ready, get ready, because we don't know when Jesus returns. And no matter how many people attack the imminent return of Christ, he could come back at any moment, and we will keep our eyes on the skies to look for him to return. God bless you. We'll see you next time on Hot Topics.